I'm Kathy and this is my June TBR. I've just finished the third draft of my novel and it's been sent out to some trusted friends and family to give me some feedback on. So I have a bit more time to get on with reading, and this TBR is, to be honest, more me setting up goals for myself. It's not a hugely aspirational TBR, it's more realistic. I'm hoping I'm actually going to be able to read more than the 4 books I've set myself. It's just that I know that I've got things to do with my thesis and possibly dealing with feedback, although hopefully I will have a bit of time to go through everything. I have become really productive actually throughout the course of this last year, both through doing my MA and working on this novel, and it's so very nearly done in terms of polishing the writing and getting that done, and then the next stage is querying. But today I'm going to be talking about my June TBR. There are 4 books on this list. One of them I have already started, actually 2 of them I've already started, but I'm still counting them as part of my TBR. So the first one is a classic piece of fantasy literature. It is the first book in the Song of the Lioness series. I think that there are 4 books in the series and not 3. But anyway, it's the first one, and it is Alana, the First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. And I've heard so many good things about this over the years in terms of representing women in fantasy literature. Some people classify it as YA. I read about 60% of it. It's not a very long book. It's very easy to read. The writing style is more what we would consider to be middle grade, I think. It was written in the 80s, I think, and YA wasn't so much of a genre then, so I can understand why it's written the way it is. Alana, the First Adventure is about a young woman called Alana of Trebond, I think that's how you pronounce it, and she disguises herself as a boy, Alan, so that she can train to become a knight. So particularly as I feel so annoyed and cheated by what happened to Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones, I'm really enjoying seeing Alana going on this journey, and I hope to read more of the series and see her become a really cool knight. The second one is another classic, but in a slightly different sense, and it is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. As you can see, I've already started it. I've gotten to page 8. So not very far. I basically read the first chapter and a little bit more. I tried to read it about 8 years ago. I struggled a lot and I found it very difficult, but from reading the first chapter this time, I found it much easier. So unless it becomes really difficult, I think I've just become much better at reading, which is a skill in itself. I remember reading loads of stuff when I was sort of 18, and I can't remember any of it. I just remember that I read certain books, whereas now I'm getting much better at being mindful as I read, and I think being critical as I read helps. So I'm looking forward to this. It's the story of Tess and things that happen in her life, and basically how she just keeps being screwed over by the world and most prominently men. Thomas Hardy has a quite bleak outlook at times, so I'm interested in delving back into it. I'm really trying to read more classics because I get them and then they just sit on my shelf and I never read them. Whenever I do read classics, I tend to enjoy them. I don't enjoy Dickens, but I enjoy people like Charlotte Bronte, Jane Austen in particular. I really love her work. So, and just from reading the first chapter, I really like the way that Thomas Hardy captures voice and character without being overtly descriptive, which I really can't stand. It's one of the reasons I don't like Dickens. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting through this. It's not very long, 300 and something pages, and it's quite small type, but it should be fine. The third book I'm going to be reading, which might not be the third book I actually read, I might read it after Alana the First Adventure, but it's the third on my list, is the Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa. I'm hoping it's going to be quite a cosy read. It's been selected for a book club that I'm part of in Cardiff. They tend to select quite short books so that people can get through them quite easily in a month, and they tend to be sort of literary fiction, which at the moment I'm reading much more genre fiction, so it's nice to have a diversity. I love reading widely more than anything else. I feel that it improves me so much as a writer, and just as a reader, seeing lots of different styles and lots of different ideas about how to write, essentially. So the Travelling Cat Chronicles is about a cat called Nana who befriends a young man called Satoru, and it's basically about sort of their relationship. I'm hoping it's going to be quite sweet and not too sad. I tend to find that when I read something where animals are the central character or the central voice, and something, you know, they're in pain or they're scared, it really, really upsets me. It's why I can't watch Dumbo at all. And the fourth book I'm going to be reading this month, which hopefully won't be the last book I'm going to read this month, but it's the one that I definitely will be, is Vox by Christina Dalcher. I think that's how I pronounce her surname. Maybe it's Dalcher? I don't know. So I've had this recommended to me. I've also heard mixed things about it. I've heard people saying it's not as good as other works, but I'm going to give it a go. It's not hugely long and I think I should get through it quite quickly. It sounds as though it's in a very similar vein to The Handmaid's Tale. Basically, women get their rights taken away from them and they're only allowed to speak a certain amount of words a day, otherwise they receive an electric shock, and it's basically about an uprising. So I've heard it compared to, like I say, The Handmaid's Tale, which I used to really, really love. I haven't read it in a long time and I don't know that I would enjoy it so much now. I've also heard it compared to The Power by Naomi Alderman, which I really enjoyed. I've heard also mixed things about that, but I personally really liked it. So those are the 4 books that I'm going to be reading in June. Hopefully I will read more, but I'm definitely going to be reading those 4. So I will be doing a wrap-up video at the end of the month talking about what I thought about them, just briefly. As I said, I'm trying to get into making videos more, but just doing much shorter ones because otherwise I just find it's really difficult to do. So if you want to know more about my writing or about the Iron Age in general, you can follow me on social media and you can also check out my website, links are below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it and subscribe for more Celtic content.